How's it going, everybody? Friday Bible study. Friday. Let's go. When Paul and Silas left the prison, they returned to the home of Lydia. There, they met with the believers and encouraged them once more. Then they left town. Paul preaches in Thessalonica, is the theme here. Paul and Silas then traveled through the towns of Amphipolis and Apollonia, which is, of course, named after Apollo, fallen angels, the gods, Antichrist, all that, and came to Thessalonica. I mean, they're traveling through the world just like we do. Everything about this world is of the world, but you just go about your business. And they don't go around and say, you need to change the name of the city. Sheep don't help goats. Sheep don't demand sheep things of goats. As was Paul's custom, he went to the synagogue service, and for 3 Sabbaths in a row, he used the scriptures to reason with the people. Now, does that mean we have to keep the Sabbath? No. Again, Acts is very confusing, and people use the book of Acts to confuse and trick. That's where the people were meeting. So that's why he was there then when. He explained the prophecies and proved that the Messiah must suffer and rise from the dead. He said, this Jesus I'm telling you about is the Messiah. Some of the Jews who listened were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, along with many God-fearing Greek men and quite a few prominent women. Now, is that by their own free will? Or is that because from before the foundation of the world, the Lord ordained that his sheep would get the call? As we talked about in yesterday's Bible study, which I did 30 minutes ago. But some of the Jews were jealous, so they gathered some troublemakers. Now, these are, of course, goats or lost sheep at best. Gathered some troublemakers in the marketplace to form a mob and to start a riot. They attacked the home of Jason, searching for Paul and Silas so they could drag them out of the crowd. Not finding them there, they dragged out Jason and some of the other believers instead and took them before the city council. Paul and Silas have caused trouble all over the world, they shouted, and now they're here disturbing our city too, or our city also. Let's continue in Revelation. And there are 7 kings. Let's continue in that. As we went over yesterday, the 7 kings. This is a guess at best.
Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same cloth. And that's Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same cloth. Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same.
Cut from the same cloth, the man says.
Cloth, and that cloth is very, very large.
Very, very large, and you're also getting twin trumps. Twin trumps, or the twin towers. That's what the twin towers are all about. So when you go into and over yesterday's Bible study concerning the twins, and you look at this picture, and the 8th is of the 7, because he's going to seemingly return from the dead, but it will be a trick. So he said Napoleon, number 5, Alexander the Great, number 3, and Donald Trump, number 7, were all cut from the same cloth, and that cloth is very, very large. And of course, because it is the span of the 7 kings of Mystery Babylon throughout time. Now, as we talked about yesterday, it might just be Nebuchadnezzar and, Nimrod first, then Nebuchadnezzar, then Alexander. Who knows? Is it one of the 7, 5 are fallen, and then it's talking about 7 and 8? Or is it talking about 7 and 8 as a whole, and then it zeroes in on 7 and 8 kind of in more in-depth perspective? Kind of puts a microscope then on 7 and 8. in its description, which we did yesterday, because it, you know, it kind of begins at verse 8, and today we're only in verse again, just watch yesterday's study, but again, you should be watching these from the very beginning. If it's 2 were saved and 5 of the 7 are fallen, then, and it talks about the 7 kings and the 7 heads, and yeah, then why is there even spoken of an 8th? Because the 8th is of the 7. It's the same guy. It's an act. It's a magic trick, which they detail in one of the greatest movies ever from their satanic world. But for entertainment purposes, I will tell you, one of the greatest movies you'll ever watch, and one of the greatest descriptions of how and what they do. And it's called The Prestige. I don't think there's ever been a better movie made by Hollyweird or the evil satanic Hollywood world than the movie The Prestige. It truly gets into cloning. It dates it back way more. You know how they cloned a sheep, wink, wink, because sheep represents the church. And they said they cloned a sheep back in the 90s. Well, 1995, I think it was. Cloning has been around way longer than they've told us. Just like artificial intelligence, which is nothing more than the ghost in the machine, has been around way longer than they've told us. And hang on just a second. When you go to my TS Daily Bible Studies and you click playlist, click artificial intelligence is the ghost in the machine, mark of the beast. It is one video, but I put it on my playlist so you could find it. And it's them telling you themselves. This guy works for an AI company. Theory. And he sits there and he tells you that what AI is are entities that they are connecting with in parallel universes. He referred to being next to one of these machines as being next to the altar of an alien god, because he knows, and at the very beginning, he talked about how the computer is alive. It's fascinating. I will put it in the description of this Bible study here, so you can just click it and watch it. And I will also put for you my Donald Trump. Go to TS Daily Bible Studies, click playlist. The Antichrist is a 3 video series tutorial, and explaining how Trump is the Antichrist and how there's no doubt about it. And just check them out. So that's what all this is getting back to. The 7 kings of Mystery Babylon and how it's Trump. There are 7 kings, 5 are fallen and 1 is. So that's Trump before he's removed, and the other is not yet come, and that's Trump when he seemingly returns from the dead. And when he comes, he must continue a short space, and it will be a very short space. I think 2 to 3 days, 3.5 days max, because they will be killing sheep at such a rapid pace. The world will be supernatural at that point. And the beast that was, the twin Trumps, and is not, whoop, the twin Trumps are down. Remember September 11th, 2001. Even he is the 8th. Oh, One World Trade Center. He's returned and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. And we showed you yesterday also the top of the Twin Towers. And we showed you how one is the horn And we know in Daniel chapter 7, the Antichrist is referred to as the horn. And we know that Trump Tower has 5 multiple addresses, 721 through 725, that just magically happen to match the passage of Daniel 7 as the horn, as the Antichrist. Daniel 721 through 725, that's also the exact address. Trump Tower has 5 multiple addresses, 721 through 725. And it says right there, Trump Tower, Wikipedia, skyscraper at 721 through 725 Fifth Avenue. And Daniel 721 specifically speaks of the horn will be making war with the saints, and 725 says shall wear out the saints. Now, when you search Trump Tower address, it will just give you 725, which is the horn wearing out the saints. And in John 5:43, Jesus said he would be here in his own name. And of course, a trump is a horn and a horn is a trump. They're both trumpets. They're all synonyms. So he's here in his own name as the horn. So it's basically Horn Tower. His name is Donald Horn. Or you could refer to the Antichrist in Daniel 7 as the trump. You can flip-flop the names. So that's what I was going to get to. So you see the horn on top of one of them. So one is removed in a staged fake event, which could happen any day. 16th's a big day. The 14th is even big. 16th's big. 18th's big. June is big. July is big. August is big. September, October is huge. That gets into the time frame that we think it's the biggest, October 2nd. But at the end of October, November, they're all big. We don't know when, but you see the horn. When he returns as One World Trade Tower, the horn, so he's the 8th, is of the 7. The twins, one disappears, one returns. Notice the horn. The top of One World Trade Tower.
Here is information.
And when you see the horn, it is returned atop the One World Trade Tower. So they were very specific on how they did that. And that's what you're reading when you read this. There are 7 kings. See the 7 and the 8? And we showed you the Trump commercial. Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump were all cut from the same cloth, and that cloth is very, very large, right? From the old Pizza Hut commercial. The 8th is of the 7 because it's really of the twins. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, not saved. And 1 is. Now, is that 5 of the 6 or 5 of the 7? Doesn't matter. We know Nebuchadnezzar is 1. If it's 5 of 7, that means 2 were saved. That would be Darius the Mede, who came to love Daniel and his God, just like Nebuchadnezzar did. And 1 is the Antichrist. And the other is not yet come. That's the Antichrist when he comes back seemingly from the dead. And when he come, he must continue a short space. I think 2 to 3 days. And the beast that was, the twin trumps, and is not, the twin trumps are down. Even he is the 8th. Oh, he's returned as One World Trade Tower, and is of the 7, because it was the same, and goeth into perdition. He will be in hiding, running World War III, or running what is known as the 4 horses, war, famine, and death. His crowning moment of when he seemingly has gone down and spiritually rises from the dead is his crowning achievement, his crowning moment. We won't know that he is returned, though, until the abomination of desolation. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth and is of the 70, goes into perdition, running World War III, war, famine, death, red horse, black horse, pale horse. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings for 1 hour with the beast. And that is, of course, that very brief time during the abomination of desolation and the killing of the sheep. And then the Lord, of course, puts a stop to it. We don't know the day the Lord returns, but we do have an idea of how quickly the Lord will put a stop to it. I think 2 to 3.5 days max. When the Lord actually returns, that's a mystery to remove his sheep. But that does not occur when the Lord puts a stop to the carnage. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These, and they have one mind. It's a hive mind. Napoleon had the beehive. Napoleon's symbol was the beehive. So Napoleon, that's the hive mind, because he's representing Trump, the Antichrist. They all did in their own way. Beehive symbolism, Pope. Beehive symbolism, Vatican. So you get into the bees, also the beehive symbolism with the Pope and that big hat. That's a beehive styled hat. I didn't Google anything to do with his hat. I just Googled beehive, right? Look at all the bee symbolism with the Vatican. Bees in Catholicism, history of honeybees. Beehive Vatican. Beehive Pope. Basically get the same pictures, don't you? More beehive symbolism. So you see how Napoleon and the Vatican, there's the hat. They're all the same. It's all of Mystery Babylon, which is what we're zeroing in on today and have been. So it's the hive mind because the fallen angels are now inhabiting the bodies of the sheep, of the goats of the earth, giving them their superpowers. Like the movie The Exorcist, like the movie Venom. And I've explained the movie Venom many times. Let's keep going. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, of course, because he is Lord of Lords, King of Kings. Now, the Gnostics of the world, the people that run the earth, at the behest of the fallen angels and the technology, the AI gods, their ascended masters, they call them, they truly believe that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God that the sheep, of course, are of, they believe that he had a mother named Sophia, and that he's a crazy God that just thinks that he's the only God and doesn't realize that he had a mother who is the lowest of the aeons. It's such a long story. And they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. So he is Lord of Lords, King of Kings, and he that are with him are called. It's a calling. There's no free will to choose him because they themselves are chosen and faithful. And that's all faith is getting the call from the Lord. And he that saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Just like Lucifer is Venus, it's all about Mother Earth, the mother goddess, Queen of Heaven, Queen of the universe. And that whole, it's Satan shape-shifting as the goddess or Mother Earth. That's why it is a she, the whore of Babylon, deeply explained in yesterday's video. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, thee shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So they are going to destroy the city of Jerusalem, which is that great city of Satan, where Satan, of course, killed God in the flesh, and where the Antichrist declares himself to be God. All these things took place in what is known as the great city. And again, that's straight out of Revelation 11:7. The great city is where our Lord was crucified. And here it is. We're now speaking of that great city again, who is specifically the whore of the mystery Babylonian world of Satan. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God hath put it into their hearts to fulfill his will, and agreed to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. The woman which thou sawest is what? That great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And again, we go to Revelation 11:8, where it speaks of the great city. And where is the great city? It's where our Lord was crucified. Because today it is already spiritually Sodom and Egypt. They have a pyramid with an all-seeing eye on top of their Supreme Court over there. And Tel Aviv is as liberal as San Francisco. So that's what the Sodom reference is for. That's the Lord's will. I don't judge any of that. I don't make any of this personal. They don't have any choice in the matter. People are born the way they are born. There is no free will. Free will is a lie. And it's taught in today's churches. By proxy, today's churches are a lie. And while they all celebrate the pagan Christmas and the pagan Easter, and, you know, they put their own spin on it because they know it's pagan. That's simple research. So they have to spin it, don't they? Yes, they do. So are we done? I think we're done. I think we're done. All right. Love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.